Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. You guys have been begging for some 90 Day Fiancé, and I thought, hey, this would be the perfect time for us to talk about Aladin and Laura. One of my favorite topics in terms of the cast on this show, because Laura is slightly outrageous with the things that she's been doing on social media. This past week, she was posting that she was like in a relationship with Raul, which is more than likely false. Raul being Evelyn's friend in Ecuador. She appears to be hanging out with Evelyn, traveling the world as well with other castmates from 90 Day Fiancé. And Laura has had quite this, I don't even know. During the season, she lied that she was pregnant. She accused Aladin of being gay. She accused Aladin of cheating on her. She accused Aladin of punching her because she posted a photo on Instagram of what appeared to be a black eye, but upon further close-ups, it was pretty clear she had created the shadow with eyeshadow. Throughout this whole time, she has also been claiming during the season that they were still together, that they were having all sorts of ways to divert from what was actually going on behind the scenes. And what was going on behind the scenes was that her marriage was effectively over. And on the tell-all this past week, Aladin basically said that he had filed for divorce and that he had felt that his relationship with her was he had been misled. Sadly, he wasn't given that much time to talk, and a lot of it was focused on this argument where she says that she went to go get coffee, and that's why their relationship ended, because she left without telling him. And there was very little time spent actually talking about larger issues within the relationship and some of maybe the deeper questions about what was going on. Now, in previous seasons, when there's been a discrepancy between age and age and maybe appearance, it's always been that the foreigner is using the American. However, she's not an American, by the way. She's a Canadian citizen. So using that Laura for a green card. But in this case, I do kind of get the sense that Aladin got a little bit of a bad rep. I never got the sense that he was actually that bad of a person. If you want to think of a bad guy, think Mohammed from season 1 with Danielle. I mean, come on. That guy completely scammed her for a green card. This Aladin situation felt a lot different to me. He seemed a lot more genuine and more invested, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that he's not without flaws, but I do think that Laura has used his, I don't know, he didn't defend himself very much. He's more quiet and he seems a little bit more mature, let's just say, in how he handles things. So finally, after months of basically getting beat up by Laura in the tabloids and on social media and through Instagram, fan pages, he actually took time out of his day and he answered so many questions. Now, all of the slides that I'm going to share with you are on his Instagram. I'm not going to post all of them because some of them are not even, I don't know, they're little small details that I don't necessarily think we need to discuss, but he did talk about some really big issues that he felt needed to be addressed. So let's start with the biggest one, the elephant in the room. He says that he was catfished by Laura. He says, I was catfished, plain and simple. When Laura and I met online, she shared photos that portrayed her to be much younger than she is. Her photos, as I discovered later, were highly edited. Even she admitted during the taping, but no one paid any attention to it. She told me she was 40 years old and I believed her. I did not even know she was using fake hair extensions, etc. When we met in person, I was surprised, but I already had feelings for this person I thought she was. We had already decided to get married, and before even meeting, how else would we have had all these documents necessary during this trip to get the marriage registered? Now, I don't think this is really that surprising, because when we saw some of the photos that she even showed that she shared with him, you could tell that she did edit them. Also, when she arrived in Qatar to visit him on the show to move there, he was actually kind of shocked by her appearance. He commented that she had gained quite a bit of weight, that she had changed her hair, and I think that he had maybe, not to say that that's not, like, we all change, but I think she used digital media to really manipulate her appearance, let's just say. And a lot of people do it, but unfortunately when you're meeting someone online, it can be used and manipulated even more greatly. And in the case of Laura, she made herself look like she was a completely different person. He then went on to say that he did not use her for money. He said, "Let me be clear, in October 2017, I began working in Qatar. In January 2018, my sister died. I had not saved sufficient money to travel to her funeral, and at that time, I was new. I waited more than a month to give the first paycheck, so I had not accumulated much. She helped me by providing a ticket for me to go back to Qatar for my sister's funeral. I believed it was around $400 US. This was one of the few things that she made me believe that she was someone I could trust and love. I had been planning to ask my boss for an advance and repay him, and when I returned, but she said she wanted to do this for me, and I accepted the help." He also says that she exaggerated how much she actually helped him pay for rent. He said that she exaggerated about helping me with rent. When she came to Qatar in March 2019, I paid for rent for March and April. She paid for May and June, and then I paid for July and August. So yes, she did pay for 2 out of the 6 months while there because I spent every penny of my savings and earnings for her. However, during all of her stays, I paid for food, utilities, sales, car, gas, bought her clothes and shoes, jewelry, paid for outings, as well as our travels, 3-day wedding and honeymoon, plus all expenses in Tunisia as well. At the time, she did not object. The money she got from the show was used as she wanted, while I used mine for the wedding. If I had been using her for money, 2 months of rent would be not worth spending 10 times more. So this was another issue that was a factor, and a massive issue was that, she's a rich retiree. Except, was I the only person when she said that she was retired at 53 years old? I think that's her age, 51 or 53. That I was like, the legal age for retirement in Canada is 65. In the United States, I think it's 67. How are you retired, and how do you have a pension when you're only 51, 16, 14 years away from retirement age? I never bought that story. And her ex-husband actually was on a 90-day fiance board, basically stating that she was broke, didn't have a pension, and that before she met Aladin, her son Liam was paying for everything for her in Florida. She's also not a U.S. citizen, and she's been deported and not allowed back in the United States. There's a lot of things about Laura where I think she doesn't know how to tell the truth. He also stated that she has a drinking problem. She says, "I'm not saying she's an alcoholic, but she cannot handle her alcohol well. When she drinks, she becomes mean, impolite, rude, violent. I did not like dealing with her in these times. We were on a honeymoon, and she would get drunk until passed out snoring on the bed without even taking her clothes off or washing herself. How embarrassing when my relatives hear her snoring from other rooms and acting rude." So this is a humongous cultural difference because women in Arabic countries are not specifically drinkers. It's actually a pretty heavily male-dominated culture where women are not partaking in these sorts of activities. This aspect of their relationship was a big problem. With men, with it being a patriarchal society, women are very much the property of men in many of these countries and do not have the same rights as women as men, and they do have expectations that are much different than those of women in the United States. And I do think aspects of their cultural differences played a huge factor in their the demise of their relationship. Now he defends that he did not control her. He says, "People and my fellow castmates have said that I am controlling. I am not controlling. I just wanted to make sure she was safe. As a husband would while she's in a foreign country. In Qatar, Laura would regularly just take off with my car and my money, lock the door, and not leave me the keys. She would not answer my cells or text. I would have to ask friends to drive me around to find her, and when I did, she was usually at a bar drinking. On one occasion, when I came to find her, she attacked me, swore at me, and started hitting me with her purse. This is unacceptable for several reasons. As an Arab man, I am the head of the household. It does not mean I control her, but I am responsible for her safety. She would... How can I make sure she is safe if she will not tell me where she is? Second, for her to act like this in public is shameful and degrades me as a man. She lied in her podcast when she said it only happened once and that she was gone 15 minutes at a drive-thru. My friends were witness to these events multiple times. So again, this is another cultural difference between these two, and Arab men are heads of household. They are tasked to keep their women safe. In some of these countries, women are veiled and are not allowed to go out with men, and so without men or by themselves. And so by her going out by herself, whether she agrees with it or not, in these countries there are rules about it. So I can understand his specific cultural requirements and legal requirements of taking care of her. Whether it's right or not, that's not for me to say. I'm only going by what's legal in these countries, which is almost always not going to favor the woman. He says he did not cheat on her. I did not cheat on her. Laura was self-conscious about her size and weight, her double chin, her arms. She projected her insecurities onto others. I accepted her. I offered to train her to reach her goals, whatever they may be. I bought her trainers, and they brought her new trainers, and then she said she did not like the first ones. He also went on to say that he tried to help her, encouraged her, didn't want to change her, but it was her own insecurities that became a massive issue and wedge in their relationship. He also says he never beat, hit, threatened, or hurt her physically. It's not my style. I respect women, and assaulting a woman will never fix anything. I can't say if the photo was makeup, Photoshop, or what, but I do know that it had nothing to do with me. He talks about the issue with her getting the purple vibrator and the book on sex, and he says the sex issue. Many people judged me harshly. First, there were some acts I did not wish to perform with her. I will be respectful and simply say that this is something a man can decide to do or not do, depending on the level of comfort with the act and the person. Cleanliness is super important to me. Second, if she had issues with our sex life, she should have come to me personally and discussed it privately. I'm a pretty understanding guy, and it is not only important but satisfying to me to know that my partner is also fulfilled. You have to understand that I am not from a place where you find sex shops on streets and where people whip out their sex toys on TV. Some matters are and should be private, and I am the first to admit that as an Arab man, I do have pride and an ego, and both were dealt serious blows on TV in front of millions of people. When I confronted her, she said she did not mean it and that it was for the show. And this was an aspect that I actually felt was really insulting to him because, to be honest, whether or not he's good at something or not, making this a storyline for him would actually be really humiliating given the fact of the patriarchal cultural aspects of being an Arab man. Again, whether or not you agree with it doesn't really matter, but she's moving to an Arab-speaking country with Arab people and who many are Muslim, and with that goes rules. And, a lot of things about this are kept extremely private. And so if she was concerned, I actually kind of agree with him. She should have talked to him privately about it. And I also can see, because of the way that the culture is with men being the head of household, how that being on TV and being exposed in that way would be humiliating for him, not only personally, but within his community, because it would probably show a lack of control. Again, not that I agree with that way of life or that women should have that role, but that's just how it is there, sadly. I am not gay, he says. I've never had sex with a man or performed any acts with any sexual nature with a man. I have nothing against gay people, but it is ridiculous to spread BS rumors like this to try to discourage other women from being interested in me. He was respectful to Liam. I was respectful to Liam even when he was disrespectful to me. I was happy he came even though I knew he would give me a hard time, but I'd give but I wanted her to be happy, and that meant bringing her son. I welcomed him with open arms, arranged for him to visit the Star Wars movie site, wasted time finding a place for him to get a tattoo, which he also decided not to do, went and got him a tux to wear, took him to the hammam to try to clear the air before the wedding instead of spending the day relaxing with my friends. I even gave him spending money for his return travels, as I was thinking he may not have local money to buy food or drinks in the airport. Apparently he gave that to Laura. When Laura left, she asked me to give her money. I did, even though I knew we were done. I did not want her to be stuck penniless. I gave her 1,000 reales. So one of the sticking points was that she said that he was rude to Liam. You know, that was an aspect of this that I never actually thought was true. I don't necessarily think that Aladin is perfect, but I do think that in this situation, I don't think she was at all prepared for the cultural differences between being a Western woman going into an Arabic country and trying to abide by the laws that bind women. I mean, most women in these countries are covered, and she was walking around not covered. And, you know, she learned that many of these men can have polygamous marriages if they want. There's so many different rules, and I don't think she was prepared for that. But I also think that it was really overhyped that he was a bad guy and that she was the victim. More than anything, this was like a colossal relationship of chaos in my mind. She also claimed that he was holding her stuff from him, and she said, I did not want to return her stuff. She came from Tunisia to Qatar and had access to all of her things before leaving. She took my luggage and packed what she wanted. There was very little left after. When I asked, I refused to see her, but I offered to give her things to someone she could collect them. She refused. I asked her to give me a lawyer's name and address to drop her things off. She refused. Finally, the show arranged to pick up her stuff, which all fit in a bag. Her things have since all been returned to her. She was wasteful with her money. She liked to go drink at fancy hotels where a glass of alcohol was like the price of a bottle and she could at home. She told me she was sending money to Liam and that he was supporting him financially. From what I read online from her ex, it seems she lied about this too, and that Liam was actually helping her instead. In her podcast, she said that I kept the wedding money and my money as well as her money from the show. This is a lie. First, yes, the small amount of money I received for the wedding was applied to the wedding as supposed to. He says that she lied about having her pension cut. He said on her podcast, Laura lied that she said that I left her finding out that she lost money, her pension, and could not sponsor me. Why? The amount she was getting was less than what I received for my basic salary plus commission. The fact is, I knew months before that she had lied about even sponsoring me, and I told her to just leave it and that it's another reason why she's living permanently in Qatar. The timelines of these two events did not even coincide. And then in terms of like his inability to answer questions at the live taping, he did say that English is his third language. He said, during the live taping, the conversation moved too fast. English is my third language. It takes time for me to absorb, process, and then construct my answers. I was unable to do so on the spot, but unlike one of my castmates, I did not have a translator. I am not blaming anyone for this. I should have anticipated needing one. This is why I've asked someone to help me write down my story clearly. And then he said that the 3-day wedding that he had for Laura in Tunisia was his last hope to show her that he loved her. He said, throughout the 3-day wedding, I felt deep down that it was a mistake, but it was my last-ditch effort to prove to her my love and hope that she would change. She did not. She only continued to belittle and disrespect me. The honeymoon and her desire for fame at all costs were the proverbial nail in the coffin. And then he said she lied about me using her for money. When he stayed with me and for several months, I incurred all the costs for us. This was 3 weeks in Tunisia and 6 weeks in Qatar. So that was the gist of everything that I had from him. There's a lot more on his Instagram if you want to see all of his answers. Now, I'm, again, not saying that Aladin is like the perfect person by any means, but I do think that on social media, Laura has pretty much shown people that she is not trustworthy, that she lies, And then she'll do just about anything for attention, from accusing him of being gay to accusing him of cheating on her to beating her to only wanting her money. From his point of view, it sounds like he even said that he knew from the get-go that she wasn't a United States citizen. He also stated on Instagram that he knew she was a Canadian citizen, and that he actually sent her money to apply for a visa for him to visit, and that she actually and sponsor him. And he says that she used the money and spent the money on herself and didn't use the money for the sponsorship. He said they later applied for a visitor visa, which was denied. And at that point, he said he was fine not actually moving to Canada, and she agreed to move to Qatar and be with him. So from his standpoint, he says, I don't know how you can accuse me of using you for a green card when I didn't care if I lived there or here. This is a he said, she said, obviously. I don't think that you're ever going to get the truth here, but I do feel like his points of view and his stories are a lot more clear. And even if you don't agree with how he approaches things or how he considers things in terms of his relationships, the cultural differences with, the responsibilities of an Arab man with their wife, or whether or not you just think that he was a pompous jerk that used her, I do think that he comes off a lot more sympathetic, and I definitely see how he feels a lot better. I can see why he probably didn't want to do this during the season. He seems like, despite what she says, to be a pretty respectful guy. And on the show, I will say that more often than not, he did appear to try to make the relationship work. They definitely argued about cultural differences, but I felt like most of the time he was spending trying to clean up her messes or things that she was doing that disappointed him, upset him, or that were just erratic. He also said that this was one aspect of something he shared on his Instagram that I didn't necessarily love. He said that she's medicated for having a mental illness. Now, he said that he doesn't care if someone has a mental illness, but she never told him about any sort of illness, like mental health disorders or issues, and he didn't learn about it until after the fact. And he said that he thinks for any spouse or partner, it's important that you disclose all the information to someone before you consider making a long-term commitment with someone. And he felt the fact that she left certain aspects out of her life out of things did definitely impact him. And I will say that her ex has also stated that she has some severe mental illness issues. So I don't think that it's like she's just battling a little bit of depression. There could be some like personality disorders going on. Her ex, which is Liam's father and the father of her other son, said that she has a lying problem. She'll do just about anything for attention. And I think that's kind of evident with how she's played out. It's hard to be sympathetic for Laura with the way that she acts. And even when she was crying during the tell-all, I just couldn't feel sorry for her, no matter how hard I tried. This was a relationship that probably never should have happened. And I just wish the best for them, for both of them to move forward. She is traveling and she is not allowed back in the United States. If she does, she'll have to return to, I think, Ontario, where she's from. And he's obviously going to stay in Qatar and keep working, and hopefully he'll find a nice Arab woman to be with him, or a woman that can, understand the culture. It's a big cultural difference. Huge. It would take a lot for any Western woman to go into that type of situation and thrive. Let's just say. All right, you guys, let me know if you're surprised by any of this, what you think, if you care. Was this like the worst? Like, do you think he's telling the truth? Do you think Laura's telling the truth? Do you think this will be the end of this like specific couple so that we don't have to hear about it anymore? We're currently wrapping up 90 Day Fiancé the other way, and the new season of 90 Day Fiancé will be starting soon, and I cannot wait to get a whole new cast and a whole new motley crew of problems. All right, you guys, I'll be back soon. Bye.